Okay, today I'm going to be covering HTML5 and CSS3 and all the new functions that are going to be becoming the web standard for web development. Let's get right into it. I'm not going to go over every function because there are way too many that got released with HTML5 and CSS3s, but I'm going to go over a few of the basic ones and some of the really cool ones. Alright, so let's get right into it. So let's say you want to embed a video in your web page. Well, before HTML5, you would have to use a Flash embed player and all this other fun stuff. But with HTML5, all you have to do is use a video tag. Just like that. And I'll define a width of 100% and a height of 100% and a source. This is where your actual video is coming from. I've moved over one of my previous tutorials, my login tutorial. It's called loginphp.mp4, so that's the source, since they're both in the same folder. Loginphp.mp4. And then the next one's important. That's the controls. This will actually put the controls for the video in the browser. Then we'll just close that and save it. Now let's view that in the browser. And you can see it's right there. This is the video that previous tutorial I made on login script for PHP. And you can see the controls down here. It has a play button. As you can tell, that works perfectly. And it has volume control over here, where you can mute it and turn on and off the volume. And that's all you have to do to embed a video in HTML5, is just a video tag. But let's say we just wanted to play the audio from that video. Well, we just put in an audio tag then. And just put in a source. And that's going to equal the same one, loginphp.mp4. And make sure you put the controls in also. Controls and close it. So we'll save that. So this will actually just play the audio from that video instead of the video. And you can see there's just an audio bar. Hit play. And it plays the audio just from that video. And that's as easy as it is to embed video and audio in HTML5, just using video and audio tags. Another thing that a lot of people are big on are progress bars when something's loading. So say you have something that's loading, it's going to take a while, you want to show a progress bar. Well, before you'd have to use CSS styling and a lot of other things. Well, with HTML5, just a progress tag. And then close it. Now there's attributes you can put in there for how much time it's going to take to load and what percent it's going to be at. I'm not going to go over all that today. I'll just show you the actual progress bar using a progress tag, and we'll hit refresh. And right there you can see a progress bar. Like I said, I could define elements on it that would actually show how much percent is there and how much is actually loaded and how much needs to be loaded. Alright, so let's keep moving on to form elements in HTML5. So let's create a form. And let's call it post. We're not going to do anything with this form. We're just going to show you what you can do with HTML5. And we'll put an action of pound, and then we'll close that and actually close the form. So let's say we have an email we want to put in. So before we do input type equals text, now we can do input type equals email. And it'll do some validation on that email for us. And I'll just give it a name of email. It doesn't really matter. We're not doing anything with it. I'm just showing you what it can do. What about a telephone number? So input type, before, again, we'd have to do text. Now we can just do TEL, telephone number. Easy as that. And name, and let's do tel. Let's see, what other good input types are there with HTML5? As you notice, I have this cool plugin that shows me all of the ones for HTML5 and CSS3. I haven't gotten around to all of these. Let's just put an input type a month. Let's see what that does. Name equals month. Like I said, there's way too many functions to go over. I'm just showing you a few of the basic ones. Type. Let's find another one. We can do time. And name equals time. Then we'll go ahead and close that and put a submit button on it just for a full form, just for the fun of it. And that's still submit. We'll go ahead and close that. Now let's view this in the browser and see what it looks like. And you can see right here, that one, that's the third one, I believe that was time. Yes. No, that was month. And the last one is time. So this one here is month, so you can scroll through the month, and this one here is time. So you can actually scroll through the 24-hour time clock. And that does validation for you, so you don't have to worry about any of it. That's one of the other cool things about HTML5. A couple of the other basic functions I'll go over real quick. You can actually define a header using a header tag. And close it. That's another good one. Same thing with a footer, if you need to define a footer on the page. And close it. Those are a few of the basic functions in HTML5. Very simple to get a hold of. There's way too many to list. You can check out w3schools.com, and they have all the functions listed there. Like I said, there's way too many to go over. But let's go ahead and move on to CSS3. That's a big one that everybody's big on now, because every browser supports it for the most part. So that's what everybody's getting into, and that's where everything's moving. So let's style a div with CSS3. So let's create a div. ID equals, we'll call it tutorials. And I guess I still have that in there. And we'll go ahead and close that. I was playing around with it earlier. Pay no attention to any of this. We'll just go ahead and get this out of there. Alright, so what I'm going to do is create a div, ID, so it's going to be pound tutorials. I gave it a width of 400 pixels, a height of 200 pixels, and a background of an off black, and I centered it. That's all I did. None of that is CSS3. So let's view that in the browser. Hit refresh. And you can see there's my box, my div, that has the background and the width and the height, and it's centered. I have done nothing with it yet. Let's say we wanted to round the corners. Let me pull that back up. So we wanted to round the corners on this box, give it a sleeker look. So what we can do then is we would do MOZ to define for Firefox, which is Mozilla, which is what MOZ stands for. And we go border radius. And let's say we want, I don't know, 20 pixels on the border radius. But we have to do it for each and every browser because it's not all standardized yet, so you have to separate each browser into CSS. So WebKit border radius, which is Chrome and Safari, is WebKit. And that's border radius. And that one's going to be 20 pixels too. It's just a different browser is all. And finally border radius, which is Internet Explorer 9. And 20 pixels. And this is CSS3 right here. So we'll open that back up and hit refresh. And now you can see how the corners are really rounded. I rounded them with 20 pixels, so that gives it a cleaner, sleeker look, and I did that all with CSS. That's the new CSS3. Just as simple as defining 20 pixels for the border radius, and you have to do it for each and every browser for Firefox, which is Mozilla, WebKit, which is Chrome and Safari, and border radius, which is Internet Explorer 9. Now let's say we wanted to add some drop shadow, make it look really cool. So again, you have to define it for Mozilla. It's going to be box shadow. And we'll go 10 pixels, 10 pixels, and 10 pixels. And we'll go pound CCC, which is gray. Shadows are never black. The shadow is usually off black or gray, some kind of color like that. And the gray coming off of black in browser looks really good. So what I did is define the top, right, and bottom for the shadow. And we'll do the same thing for the WebKit browsers. Oh, I'm doing box shadow, not border radius. And again, 10 pixels, 10 pixels, and 10 pixels. And that's going to be pound CCC. It's a little redundant, but until they all get standardized, this is the way you have to do it for now to make it work in everything. And finally, you just do box shadow. And again, normally I'd copy and paste. and pound 123. And we'll save that. Now, since I'm working out of Chrome, the only one I would really have to change is the WebKit, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'll put the other ones in. And we'll go back up here, and we'll refresh. And now you can see how that has a nice little drop shadow to it, which makes it really stand off the page. That's all done using CSS3. None of that is an image. And that's the really cool thing about CSS3, and you can use that right now, starting effectively. There are many other things you can do with CSS3. Again, there's way too many of those for me to go over. I was just pointing out the major ones, and border radius and box shadow are two of the big ones that everybody is using, and they really help to make things look a lot better. Like I said, check out W3 Schools. They have every function possible for HTML5 and CSS3. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Leave a comment on my blog or on my YouTube channel. I usually answer those pretty quickly. If this helped you out, just subscribe to my blog, ryancon.com, or my YouTube channel. Alright, thanks.